The maxims of a cooperative principle can be flouted in certain situations without compromising on meanings. Let's have a look how they could possibly be flouted. When a speaker doesn't appear to follow the maxims, but still thinking that his hearer or listener would be able to understand the meaning, the implicit or hidden meanings, he is actually flouting the maxim. For example, it's very common in Britain to say it's quite chilly in here without saying that please switch on the fire or put the fire on. So while requesting to put the fire on, somebody might say it's quite getting chilly in here. So the meanings are something which are not said directly but still conveyed. So apparently we can say that the speaker is flouting the maxim but still conveying the meaning. In this situation, speaker assumes that the hearer knows that his or her words should not be taken at their face value. Rather, the hearer would be able to understand what is hidden or intended by saying things in an indirect way. Let's have a look at various examples of the flouting of these maxims. Let's start with the flouting of the maxim of quantity. For example, if somebody shares too little or too much information about a certain things, we might say that he is violating the maxim of quantity. In order to understand this further, let's assume that there are two people interacting with each other, A and B. B is somebody who is sitting in a park and there is a dog sitting beside him or her, and A is the one who is just passing by. A stops and asks, does your dog bite? B says, no. A bends down and just moves his hand or strokes the dog, moves his hand on the dog. Dog bites in response. Then A says that you said your dog didn't bite. Do not bite. B says it's not my dog. It looks like a funny situation. You can see that A thinking that the dog who is just beside the B is his or her, but in fact it wasn't. And B didn't provide enough information to tell him that my dog doesn't bite, but this dog which is sitting beside me is not my dog. Because of this confusion, A was not able to understand the proper meaning, complete meaning, and he suffered because of it. Flouting the quality happens when we exaggerate things. It can happen in many ways. When we say too little about something, when we do not provide the proper information in an exaggerated way, or we say something in a hyperbolic way by exaggerating its overall volume. For instance, somebody may use a metaphor like my house is a refrigerator in January, or do not be such a wet blanket. We just want to have fun. In these two examples, you can see in the first example, my house is a refrigerator. House literally does not become refrigerator, but here speaker intends to convey that my house is very cold during January. Similarly, in the second example, it is being conveyed that somebody is spoiling the fun of others by being different or boring in a certain situation. Flouting relation, the hearer will be able to imagine what the utterances didn't say and make the connection between those utterances. I mean, something is missing in the conversation, still the other participant would be able to understand it. Let's have a look at the example. A says, what do you think of Mark? B says, his flatmate is a wonderful cook. B, without mentioning Mark, says that his flatmate is a good cook. In this way, he is probably conveying the meaning that he is indifferent to Mark, or he doesn't want to talk about Mark, or probably he's not impressed by Mark. He didn't mention Mark, he didn't say any direct comment, but he said it in a way that he conveyed that he is not impressed by the Mark. Similarly, we have flouting the manner. Speaker appears to be obscure, often trying to exclude a third party. It happens in certain situations when we do want to hide certain characters or participants in a communication because of certain ethical, social, political, or any other reason. Let's have a look at the example. A says, "Where are you off to?" B says, "I was thinking of going out to get some of that funny white stuff for somebody." A says, "Okay, but do not be long. Dinner is nearly ready." If you just focus at this communication, you see that the B is trying to hide something. He talks about somebody. He talks about that white stuff which he is going out to bring to the house. This could happen in a situation where a wife asks his husband, "Where is he going?" And husband, without mentioning the original name of that white stuff, which could possibly be the ice cream, and somebody could possibly be their daughter, Sarah, or could be any other name. So without mentioning ice cream and the daughter by their names, he's just referring to some unusual expressions or some covering terms so that they do not know it. In such situations, they are probably flouting the maxim of manner, but still, the hearer is able to understand the meaning. So, while a speaker flouts these maxims, he can still be able to convey the meaning.